Welcome, and thank you for joining today's webinar, Seeing Connected TV Through a Search Marketer Lens, presented by Mountain and Search Engine Land. Before we get started, a couple of tips. If you have any viewing issues, you can use the Q&A section to communicate with us, and you can send questions or comments directly to the speaker about her presentation at any time. Joining us today from Mountain is Rebecca Bakich, Digital Marketing Manager at Mountain. Rebecca, I'll turn things over to you.
I appreciate it, Danny, and thanks for having me today. I also want to thank all of you who are here joining me for this session. I'm really happy to be here. Like Danny mentioned, I'm Rebecca Bakich, Digital Marketing Manager at Mountain. I've been with Mountain coming up on 2 years now, and here at Mountain, I oversee all of our paid media efforts and strategy. So I'm looking forward to talking with you all today as someone who manages a full funnel marketing mix with, of course, a strong reliance on paid search ourselves. That being said, we also rely heavily on our own CTV platform as a performance driver and one that complements our other marketing tactics and efforts and channels. So as a digital marketer that's data driven, I'm excited for you to just see what CTV can offer that is familiar and function to what you see on search and social. My hope for today is to showcase how CTV can be a logical next step to unlock for paid media and digital marketers looking to further optimize their performance. And let's just walk through what we'll cover today. So for today's agenda, we'll discuss how you can reach your audiences on connected TV. We'll discuss creating a brand safe environment. We'll also chat about reporting on your efforts with CTV. And then lastly, the halo effect of connected TV. And after our conversation, I believe everyone joining can feel confident in bringing your experience and skill set as a digital marketer with what you already know about search marketing, and you can see how that can then easily apply to finding performance on CTV. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. And so to first set the stage, I know one thing that we can all agree on is that search marketing is a foundational and fundamental tool for brands and their performance marketing mix. Like I mentioned, we at Mountain rely heavily on paid search ourselves. So I don't think I need to convince anybody here, and we could probably all agree on just how effective search is at capturing users with intent. That being said, I think if you're tuning in today, it may be for a reason. And I'm wondering if that reason is that you may feel like you've captured or maxed out on capturing that low-hanging fruit. Again, I'm a marketer like you. And when we begin to feel like we're tapping out on optimizations within search, maxing out on budget to funnel into existing campaigns, we want you to consider CTV as a solution to actually avoid plateauing on search. If you are considering sort of the current opportunities you're debating within your account of where budget can be best spent, this may entail right now pouring more money into certain keywords or certain ad groups, or perhaps some of you are even feeling like you're truly running out of the search volume, especially in some more niche markets. I don't want you to think that I'm saying CTV can be a replacement for search. I'm by no means saying that. Or I don't want you to also think about CTV just being, a nice to have, as that's not really my intention for today. When thinking about how to fold CTV into your existing mix, I'm not saying, pull the majority of budget from search right now because you're feeling maxed out, or, move away from it significantly because you're looking at CTV and how to kind of level set things. But I want to get you thinking about how CTV can actually complement your paid search campaigns and efforts and help drive performance that you're ultimately responsible for. So we definitely recommend a mix of tactics and understand that all channels really perform best when performing together. But because search, with search, you're capturing that existing demand and seizing upon a user's need being met as they self-identify in their research. By adding CTV as a net new performance channel to your mix, you can actually generate initial interest or help develop intent further. So one way to think about it is CTV can act as a demand intent driver, and then your search can act as a demand capture for you in many ways. And then actually thinking about in the case of retargeting with CTV, you have the opportunity to further nurture high intent leads down the sales funnel in conjunction with your search and social efforts. So like you, often, we find ourselves feeling a bit stuck in our demand gen growth from a search standpoint. As a performance marketer, it's our job to always be looking for new ways to generate and capture demand. So while TV and even many CTV solutions are great at brand awareness, there are CTV solutions like Mountain that also operate further down funnel too. So while yes, CTV can act, top of funnel in the sense that it could be the first channel that hits your target audience, it can also act and influence further down funnel by driving quality traffic to your site to convert. And, for some businesses and markets, this first touch is invaluable. Like if you're a new brand or you have launched a new product category that maybe search isn't necessarily going to be capturing abundantly for you just yet, CTV is a great solution for first touch capture. But as CTV has matured and grown, it also can be an intent-based tool and one that can help you fill the gaps of those with a heavy reliance on their search strategy. It's a channel that can drive volume of traffic, and then actually because of like the behavioral incomes of or behavioral outcomes rather of TV advertising, you'll actually naturally see an increase in your organic and your brand's search volume. Thinking about that added boost, you'll have the opportunity to now seize these qualified users on your site and refilling up your retargeting audiences as a result of that additional traffic. And then, one other thing to note is just the nice thing about Mountain's platform is that there are features you'll recognize from your day-to-day in search marketing, and then also new features that will work to boost the strategies you already have put into place. So again, this actually makes the case for viewing CTV as a complementary tactic to your other marketing strategies. And ultimately, you could think of CTV taking two proven marketing channels, the elements of digital, search and social, and linear TV as an incredible brand driver, and that combines it into one function under CTV. So you see the same elements of paid search with the high impact of traditional linear TV. So when thinking about activating on CTV, what may first come to mind is how to reach your ideal audience. While search may excel at reaching high intent users, it's really only capturing those actively searching. And so search solutions have been looking for ways to widen this pool quite a bit. We see this with Google unveiling Performance Max, and now, with Microsoft quickly thereafter developing their own audience solutions. The issue with these tools is that they also come with a lack of transparent, reporting and insights. We unfortunately have experienced firsthand in our own testing that there's been a lot of volatility, making it hard to really determine true performance at time. There's enough information to assess sort of at a high level, but there's really not enough data to determine strong actionable takeaways. So sometimes it may even be feeling like we're blindly trusting this black hole system at certain points. But with that being said, performance-based CTV solutions actually offer a chance to expand your high intent audience, but without sacrificing insights. You can reach your target audience and achieve KPIs while generating new demand and influencing those that may have use for your product or service, but they may just not know about it yet. With CTV, you can capture an incremental audience to what you're capturing with your paid search and paid social activities. And so what I think many of you will love to hear is with Mountain CTV, you can target like you do with search. You can segment audiences to reach your ideal audiences. So you have some options available to you. First, you can target by first and third party audiences, depending on which you find most valuable. And you can also retarget to drive more conversions with existing site traffic. This is one thing to think about, of just making the most of your site traffic that you've already worked so hard to generate, using those CTV campaigns from a retargeting standpoint to bring users back on site in order to convert. And actually, what's really nice about the Mountain platform is you have the ability to highly tailor your retargeting setup based on what your business or brand may deem, a highly engaged user. So this could be based on a user visiting the site multiple times, or based on the time spent on site, could be based on the user viewing multiple pages. There are several levers available to adjust of just how you would best define those parameters. And then lastly, you could target CRM lists to reach valuable customers and prospects. For instance, one example is to potentially make use of an existing email list and match that to the CTV platform and hit them with a unique TV creative. You could also think about leveraging maybe a high likelihood to buy ABM list. They're in the market for your product category. And so thinking about how you'd like to show up in front of those users on the TV screen too. But when considering, introducing CTV to your mix, actually your keyword strategy from a search standpoint can have a major influence on how you're targeting into connected TV as well. For us, we actually take a look at our search term reports, and this gives us, clues into the interests of the audiences that we're capturing. And then we actually use those insights to drive the segments that we're using on CTV as well. So truly one of the best places to actually start when activating on CTV is to set up your campaign structure to mirror what you have set on the search side. You can think about segmenting audiences, say more top of funnel with broader interests and keyword categories, and then more bottom funnel, sort of the equivalent to your branded keywords and search terms, those more familiar with your brand or have done some research in your product category. And lastly, because of the reporting available, you can also measure success based on performance metrics like ROAS, CPA, and so forth. And then diving a little deeper into the reporting available in platform, this is actually a snapshot view into the UI of one of the reports available specific to audience segmentation. So the audience segment report allows you to determine what audience is top performing even within a single campaign. And this granular insight actually allows you to truly understand what is working and then can be applied to your search strategies that actually may not provide that same level of detail. So for those top performing segments identified, one thing to consider would be maybe breaking those out to lean further in with your budget. And then in the same breath, you can easily and quickly analyze what may be underperforming and take action against those. One example actually from our own Mountain client is that we saw this report in particular uncover some significant insights for their business. So based on this level of reporting, they were actually able to uncover a new subcategory of users that may be interested in their brand or offering. They spun up some unique creative against it, did some testing, had specific product pages developed to suit that segment. And this actually resulted in not only a change in their marketing strategy, but really their overall business revenue and goals. So this was a high impact when analyzing the data just within this report itself. And one other reason I wanted to highlight this report is because as performance marketers, we continue to see advancements in automation in our campaigns, but it's unfortunately brought about a reduction in transparency to reporting as well. So I actually think that there is value not only in the actual performance and conversion results from CTV that you'll see within these reports, but the data that you're getting access to It's also extremely valuable as a marketer. Let's face it, we're all data driven at this point. So I think you'll really love having these sort of insights right at your fingertips. And then another key differentiator between digital video and CTV is actually one that regularly makes headlines, which is brand safety. So I'm going to call on none other than Ryan Reynolds himself to address this exact topic actually for us.
This is social media. It's always been a dumpster fire, but lately, for brands, it's been extra dumpstery. How do I know so much about the subject? I'm Ryan Reynolds. I spend a lot of time on social media, which is why I recommend you advertise on Mountain Performance TV. You get all the benefits of digital, selecting your audience, budget, and seeing real-time performance combined with the safety and comfort of TV. I love a Yuletide dumpster. Visit mountain.com to schedule a demo today.
Okay, I guess jokes aside, really another benefit to CTV is that it is a brand safe environment that can help protect your reputation. So this was an ad that we actually put together sort of at the start of this sort of news hitting headlines, just to make advertisers and marketers aware of one of CTV's stronger incentives. We see X, formerly known as Twitter, and Google dominating headlines of stories with advertisers running into trouble, unfortunately. And then in the case of automated placements, you're opted into a partner network, but you don't have visibility into where your ad is being served. So there have been well-documented issues with this across platforms. But with CTV, you can spend more time worrying about results than where your campaigns are running. That being said, I think it's important to also look for partners who offer premium inventory when it comes to prioritizing and building that brand safe environment. Mountain, in particular, facilitates inventory through direct deals with networks. So we ensure you get your ads served on premium inventory only. So you can avoid having your ads seen on something like, the belly dancing channel, which may not have as much impact for your brand necessarily. And this leads me to jump back a bit just to showcase some other reporting available. Our network reporting dashboard allows you to know where your ads are airing and the relative performance of the ads you're running on those channels. Knowing that this data is transparently available to you, again, not only offers up additional insights, but it allows you to see exactly which appropriate networks your content is being placed with that insurance that your reputation won't be affected. So again, by leveraging this report, you can assure brand safety, but then also understand, where your brand message is resonating by channel. And so a main point or takeaway is really that there is so much data available to you to help track your efforts with CTV. There is a robust reporting suite within the platform, and there are a number of different ways to customize your reporting to ultimately drive the outcomes and KPIs you're looking to see. And also, what's nice is the data is actually very easily digestible and visually concise. You've seen a few different UI examples throughout the presentation today, but we do take real marketers' feedback into outlining how we enhance the display of our data. And then another thing to note is just the data and insights and the learnings that you are able to track can now be brought over to less transparent channels and initiatives. So the performance indicated and that you're seeing within CTV can help guide strategy really more holistically. Another thing, like search and social, the tool is functioning to take observations and turn those into optimizations to improve the delivery of your campaigns. So when logging into Mountain's platform, you'll quickly become familiar based on the look and feel of other measurement platforms. It should feel familiar to many advertisers and marketers. And then additionally, Mountain allows you to integrate directly with GA4 and Rockerbox, so you can track your CTV performance right alongside your search and other ad channels that you're running. We know, GA is a source of truth for many, and as one's looking at that data on the daily, this makes it really convenient to easily compare performance in one place. And it allows you to act quickly with data-backed decisions ultimately. And then another report Mountain developed really in response to what additional value we could bring customers is our incrementality reporting. Incrementality reporting allows brands to understand the true impact of their CT marketing efforts and clearly measure how connected TV can better drive conversions and increase revenue. So this empowers advertisers to make more impactful optimizations and investment decisions overall. The nice part about this report is that it's actually already included as an always on within the platform. There's no minimum spend level or threshold you have to hit in order to have access to it. I know there are some brand lift studies out there across other channels that can get pretty expensive to unlock and often may have inconclusive results, and that could get pretty frustrating at times too. So our incrementality reporting was purely meant to help you make better spend decisions for CTV, but then also these decisions can be introduced more broadly and not just within CTV alone. So this is definitely a report that our team in particular at Mountain was very excited about, because really bringing this kind of reporting insight into your performance data more holistically is super impactful, again, with any decision that you're going to make moving forward. So I really love this report in particular. If you do end up having access to it, hopefully in the near future, I would say it's one that you want to make sure that you take advantage of. And then I just want to quickly highlight one last report because with all of this measurement available to you, it means that marketers can also leverage CTV as another tool to test what works and what doesn't. So since the platform is actually built to auto-optimize the top performing creative, you can easily add A/B testing and see which creative works best for your audiences. So advertisers leverage this report to understand what changes to make to their next creative development, and then again apply learnings across other channels. It's really an added benefit from now seeing the data from CTV as a new performance channel. You have a new element of performance marketing to impact your overall strategy. So then, when thinking about, again, introducing CTV, you'll actually want to think about recognizing how all of your channels are playing into one another holistically, in particular, from a creative standpoint as well. And consider sort of what the user experience is across mediums. And that, can include search and your messaging on search as well. If you think about a user first sees your CTV ad, visits your website, doesn't necessarily convert, and then they're served a retargeting ad on social, you just want to think about how those creatives play into one another, but then also just your messaging broadly, or if it's tailored by segment for search, social, and then CTV, if you fold that in. So if all of what I shared so far wasn't enough to convince you that you may want to consider adding CTV to your strategy, what if we told you that adding CTV could make your search tactics that you already have in place perform even better? We observe from our clients that advertisers who add CTV to their mix see better site traffic and conversions on other channels. So CTV actually creates a halo effect of positive performance on other channels that generates more attention, more qualified site visits, and more opportunities to convert on other channels. So using our first-party data, we looked at advertisers who leverage CTV, paid search, and paid social, and we examined how adding CTV truly impacted the performance of those other channels. And what we found is kind of encouraging to say the least. Specific to search, we saw these customers have a 19% longer average session duration with CTV versus paid search, and 22% stronger conversion rates for paid search after adding Mountain. These conversion rate increases, they can allow you to uncover new opportunities or new revenue streams. But generally, they just make you as a search marketer look really good, quite frankly, because CTV can drive so much traffic to a website. You'll see it's going to drive spikes in branded search results for users wanting to learn more about your brand. And, so in that sense, really both organic and paid stand to benefit as a result. And, getting a campaign live and serving is actually very easy with Mountain CTV. So you can start to see those results impacting your other performance pretty immediately after launch too. And this actually brings me to my closing thoughts and key takeaways for today's session. The first, search marketers who are looking to fuel growth and expand their pipeline should consider adding connected TV to their performance channel mix. So again, think about how CTV can be a true complementary tactic to your other marketing strategies. And with that, I think it's important to consider how the insights from an additional performance channel like CTV can impact business beyond marketing. Even unlocking new revenue streams or offerings, like we mentioned. And another point I would like to make is just as a search marketer, you already have the skill set to run on CTV. You can take a lot of what you do on the search side and easily adapt it to CTV when it comes to like your segmentation and your campaign structure and setup. I know many marketers may worry about exploring a new channel and the best practices for those channels, considering learning a new interface and making sense of the reporting. But CTV and search actually have such similar capabilities in platform. The UI, the campaign structure, language should all be familiar. And then ultimately, the performance will be similar to what you're used to seeing on those other channels. The second takeaway, the sophisticated audience targeting and detailed reporting of CTV allows search marketers to amplify their message and understand the impact of their efforts. So there really is so much available to you in terms of targeting capabilities and reporting customizations to take advantage of within Mountain CTV platform. We talked about it earlier, but one of the easiest ways to actually get started from a targeting standpoint is to take a look at how you outline your search campaigns. CTV can be a powerful tool for brand exposure, but with CTV, you also have the ability to target each part of the sales funnel. And then with the reporting available, you'll be able to track performance down pretty granularly as well. And the last key takeaway for today, connected TV is not only brand safe, but it creates a halo effect for paid search and social, increasing their results. Again, we see it firsthand from analyzing our own customers' performance. CTV is boosting key metrics that we know you would have a close eye on. And so with that, I want to thank you for your time again, and we can open it up to some Q&A before we close out for the day.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. That was great. Always great to see Ryan Reynolds pop up in the middle of a webinar. So.
We have to sometimes.
Right? All right. Now's your opportunity. If you have any questions for Rebecca about anything you've heard or anything else related to connected TV, we will ask them right now. So just throw those into the Q&A section. To kick us off, I guess, I'm sure there's a few people here who have been listening to you who are, maybe new to connected TV. Do you kind of have any advice for those people who, just how do you sort of incorporate CTV into a search strategy? How do you get started there?
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, majority on this call probably are just at the point of considering adding CTV or maybe even had limited runs in testing the channel. My advice really is to feel confident in your existing skill set as a digital marketer to quickly, translate into activating and measuring impact from connected TV. One thing I think is really key to keep in mind is that holistic marketing approach of, again, how this new type of user acquisition and performance channel is going to play into your existing search strategy. But like we showed, you really stand to benefit ultimately. You're going to see sort of that performance from CTV then impacting your search performance as well. Also, as far as getting started with CTV, again, I probably mentioned it more than once, but search is really, it's been a key driver for us in where to kind of start outlining our campaign structure. So I think, I talked about pulling insights from CTV to other channels, but also just remember, you have sort of your built out, tried and true structure from a search standpoint, and that's a great place to bring over what you've outlined on the search side to get started with CTV. So mirroring the segmentation you've built of your audiences and campaigns is a highly beneficial way to, again, bring CTV in your fold. And then, as far as getting started with CTV, I think one other thing I just wanted to make sure I mentioned was sort of like where you stand in your commitment to the strategy and to unlocking the channel, because truly to see, the performance from CTV, you might turn on a campaign and see the metrics of your other channels start to tick up quite a bit. But then, you really want to put CTV in a place to be a third pillar of performance. So you want to kind of set it as more of an evergreen placement in your strategy overall. So that's just one thing I wanted to note too. Not to put pressure on anybody, but I think you want to think about like where you kind of stand right now to ultimately make CTV the best performer for you too, and not necessarily better than search or social, just that you could see similar performance over time.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay. How about for people who are maybe again starting out but don't have any video creative? How do you know what kind of your target audience will respond to? How do you kind of get started with that? And is generative AI maybe going to be helpful there?
Oh, yeah, a great question. I like this one. I think actually what is interesting is a lot of times people consider the content that they already have available won't be necessarily CTV appropriate, or they don't have content that they're thinking of that can easily translate to CTV. But I would say take another look at the content, in particular if you do have any video creative across other platforms, and determine if that can be repackaged to be brought over to CTV, just as like a quick and easy solution to start. But yeah, I think the other thing is we do have options available with Mountain. You can partner with us to unlock CAS or creative as a subscription. Basically, if you commit upfront annually, you'll have new creative development for you on a quarterly basis that, in addition to your advertising investment, you're getting these new creatives produced throughout the year. But there's also, a different way to manage your package there, where if you want, initially you could have a few different creatives built up front if you want to first dive in with A/B testing, because, to that same point, in knowing what your audience responds to, having never run on CTV before, you're kind of testing the waters a little bit for the first time. But I think when I was talking earlier, to first answer this point as well, you have potentially data on other channels of what resonates from a creative standpoint. So you could think about pulling that in. The segmentation is going to be set up similarly to other platforms. So if you're then segmenting into CTV the same way, see what's working creatively on other channels, and then bring that into the creative that you're developing for CTV. With generative AI, I think that's really going to unlock things for advertisers, smaller advertisers, people just getting into CTV advertising and video. I'm really excited to see what will come. We've seen, a number of different iterations of actually our own AI product that's being developed too, to address exactly this, and kind of constantly evolving to meet people. I think this has sometimes been a big hurdle for marketers coming over to CTV, and unlocking it is really just, how do I get the creative that I need to unlock? So yeah, I'm very excited to see what's to come.
Awesome. All right. You talked about the halo effect in your presentation a little bit. How is there a way to measure that as part of your strategy?
Yeah. So, two things I would say that I noted and spoke to. First of all, the reporting within platform, there's a ton of data available to you. The incrementality reporting in particular really helps to create that clarity for marketers too, showing sort of the impact of their CTV campaigns versus what they would have produced anyway. And then outside of the data that is tracked in platform, again, those integrations with GA4 and Rockerbox, they make it easy to measure the influence of connected TV advertising on your conversions and your revenue alongside the other channels that you have in play. So pairing that data really helps tell a full story of how CTV is impacting your strategy and mix overall.
Great. Again, there are some new people here to CTV. A lot of search marketers, obviously, and they've spent a lot of time kind of honing their audiences for search. So, do you have any tips on ways that they can find an audience in a similar way with connected TV, or is it different? Like, how should they think about that?
Yeah. I know, I feel like you've probably really made search, your true engine now. So you feel like you've kind of wrapped that up in a pretty package, and coming into CTV, it's like, where the heck do I kind of start? But we highlighted some of the targeting features available within CTV's platform, and, comparing to linear TV of the past, CTV really offer such a variety of targeting options that allow you to get very specific to hone in on exactly who you're looking for. That real distinguishing difference between linear and CTV is your targeting options. So with linear, you're targeting an entire viewership of a channel or network or show. And with CTV, you're more interest-based, you're in market-based targeting is available to you. You have that CRM list to match with. So that's really a big impact in the performance of TV campaigns in particular. So you can absolutely, find your existing audience pool and meet them. You could unlock new eyeballs, and there may be some segments or even some audiences that you decide to expand into that could surprise you too, but you can always look back on the reporting to see what is driving, performance ultimately. So yeah, I would say, outside of thinking about just bringing over what you're doing already on existing channels, like, you can expand those parameters and definitions potentially based on the data that you do see in platform with testing.
Okay, great. We have a lot of questions coming in. We're going to start digging into more of those now. Question from Tommy. Given that people interact with platforms different, is there... oops, wait a second. Where'd it go? Oh, sorry. It just moved on me. People interact with platforms different. Is there a certain audience that tends to be more prevalent on CTV?
Yeah, this is a good question too. I know it's come up in just like generationally too, of who's sort of in streaming, and we're really seeing that like level out. Cutting the cord is across all different audiences too. I don't think that there are certain audiences that tend to be more prevalent. Also, when you think about how a user is now streaming, they're jumping around from so many different streaming platforms too, and different networks. So you're kind of like opening up a lot of opportunity because of really like all the inventory that is available to you. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for that question. Next one was one from Brianna. How is Mountain getting prepared for the impending cookie deprecation?
Yeah, I know this question has come up before too. We're following regulations for sure. This has been such a hot topic in the industry overall. It's sort of ever evolving, but there are targeting elements and the performance elements within CTV won't necessarily be affected by this as it stands. So I don't necessarily think that CTV is overly sensitive to it at this point. The use of first party data as well comes up time and time again when we're talking about cookie deprecation, and because you have the ability to bring your first party data into CTV, that's also sort of another like fixed solution when thinking about it. There's a lot going on the back end that we're definitely keeping up with. So yeah, I don't think it's a situation that CTV is sitting in a place that we're not kind of like already all talking about with cookie deprecation.
Okay, next question is from Ashley. When beginning with CTV, will companies, I believe this is specific to Mountain, will companies be given a representative to help assist when needed to help understand the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. You're matched, right away to kind of get you set up for customer success with the platform. So you'll be paired with a rep to sort of walk you through in your campaign structure and understanding actually, kind of where you're coming from, where your current strategy sits from a marketing standpoint to date. And we'll work alongside you to get you up and running, make sure that things are firing appropriately, sort of all the back end technicalities too. But yeah, absolutely would have somebody working closely alongside to get your campaigns up and running.
Okay, lots of great questions coming in. Keep them coming. We still have plenty more time for Q&A. The next one, I believe it's Zena is the name. If not, I apologize for mispronouncing your name. Asks, does the quality of the CTV creative need to be linear TV production quality? Which is a great question.
Yeah, so that is one thing I know I talked about bringing maybe other video creative over, but you are going to have your particular specs for CTV that you would think about for linear quality as well. So yeah, to answer that, there are specific video specifications that CTV would require as well.
Okay, great. Next one. Let's go from Andrew. Do you have any examples of what or where these ads appear on CTV?
Yeah, I talked about the premium inventory that Mountain has. So we work directly with those networks to ensure that inventory. We have over 150 plus networks that we partner with. If you actually go to our site, we're kind of regularly listing it where you can see certain networks that we're working with. Again, we have found that when it comes to from an inventory standpoint, you're really going to see performance with those premium inventory networks. So that's what you can kind of anticipate as far as if you go and work with Mountain, sort of the placements that you'll see.
Okay, next question is from Jeff. Can campaigns target certain states and day parts?
Yeah, I like this one too. This was really, powerful. I think even when I came on and learning about CTV for the first time, it was really awesome to think about how you can very locally target and what's available to you from local or location standpoint. So yeah, you absolutely can target down to specific states, specific cities. And yeah, get super honed in on where exactly you want that message.
Okay. Next question is from Brianna. How long would you recommend running a CTV test to determine if it is truly effective, especially if you have a longer sales funnel, such as like 3 to 6 months, such as in lending?
Yeah, I like this question too. That's one thing when I touched on, just not wanting to introduce CTV sort of as just like a flighted campaign, and you'll see some of your metrics tick up more immediately, but you do want to give yourself enough time on the platform to really see true performance. And I think that different sales cycles really come into play. So actually, when working with a Mountain CTV rep, I think they'll kind of help you find that happy balance based on what we're seeing as far as your sales, cycle compared to how long we really recommend having a campaign run on the platform. I would say, on average, we would say that sort of that like 2-month time frame is like the minimum to start really seeing performance data come in for CTV. But depending on your sales cycle, for sure, I think that is going to play a part into how long we would really recommend.
Okay, joke. Let's go for our next question from Natalie. Can you speak to how to incorporate CTV into retargeting? Anything notable between CTV and search efforts?
Yeah, I think that CTV can be really powerful with retargeting. Showing up to a user on a TV screen after you already know that you've like captured that user on site is just such a powerful, non-skippable ad to get in front of them and that brand recognition again. We see the impact of just those cross channels and having, again, you sort of hit a user so holistically from all ends. So retargeting was definitely an option available to you to set up your campaigns. When getting started with CTV, we do recommend, thinking about your prospecting audience, but then also setting up a retargeting audience with CTV as well, just kind of as like your bare minimum bones. We definitely push kind of starting out with both campaigns at the same time.
All right, awesome. Thank you. We still have plenty of time for Q&A. If you have more questions, keep putting them in the chat. The next one, I apologize if I mispronounced your name. I believe it's Sharier. I apologize, Sharier. What are the benefits of choosing audiences versus networks for a CTV campaign?
Yeah, I think the difference there being, again, thinking about sort of how linear TV traditionally worked and then CTV. So what's powerful about CTV is targeting into those particular segments and audiences versus the entire viewership of a certain network. But with that being said, too, the premium inventory that we have partnered with and are placing into the platform is really because we have tested other things. The premium inventory is really what's going to drive performance for you. So my recommendation really would be sort of looking at segmentation before thinking about just targeting by inventory necessarily.
Okay, doke. Let's go to our next question. So many great questions. Thank you, everybody. Samantha had a question. How do you recommend testing CTV cost efficiently? Many times marketers are not allowed incremental budget. How do you test into CTV without hurting performance and volume from existing channels by shifting funds?
Yeah, I think this question is great too, because again, sort of at the start of the presentation, I wanted to make it very clear that I'm not saying to pull all of your budget from search. What is working on search for you is for a reason and not something you necessarily want to tweak or mess with. With that being said, if you do feel like you're kind of at a place where you're still considering like additional budget to add there, instead, you want to think about, well, can this be best suited? Is there things underperforming necessarily or not really performing that I don't necessarily need to lean into as much, that I have the opportunity to pull that into CTV? And I think thinking about, just because you may be pulling something that's like underperforming from one channel and putting that into CTV, then, you're not really going to see anything change much from your other tactics or strategies. But because of that halo effect that we've seen, bringing over into to CTV is only going to really benefit some of your search strategies and tactics too.
Awesome. All right. Another great question coming up here from Nolan. Can you target specific programs or shows? says he's been researching CTV self-serve platforms, and most only allow you to target by genre.
Yes, you can target by specific, programs and shows. I think, initially when launching into CTV, though, it is probably going to be recommended that you kind of keep everything on just from a performance standpoint to see what really is working. You don't want to like narrow your audience too far just by like network, but you do have targeting available to see exactly what network is ultimately performing for you.
Okay, and I think we have our last question here from Brianna. What are your thoughts on leveraging QR codes and CTV to drive engagement? I'm seeing this a lot myself when I watch YouTube these days. So yeah, curious for your thoughts here.
Yeah. It's funny to think back, sort of the COVID times. I remember that question really popping up of like, are QR codes here to stay or what are they? And, we see the use of them a lot. We actually have done some of our own testing too when it comes to QR codes and including those within CTV ads. I definitely think it's worth testing. I think, we have the device in our hands and we're also usually watching the TV screen at the same time. And so having that QR code available is something I think that you'd ultimately want to test to see if there is any, incremental performance in adding that. So maybe even considering like an A/B test of including a QR code and not including a QR code in your creative, and sort of where the difference lies in traffic that you might see or that QR, tracking ultimately what you'll see come through.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Rebecca. This was great. That is all the time we have today. If we didn't get all the questions answered, we'll make sure to pass those along to Mountain to hopefully get those answered for you. So on behalf of Search Engine Land, I want to thank you, Rebecca, for your great presentation, and thank you all for attending this webinar. And we hope to see you join us again soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you.